If you are interested in starting your own podcast, we use Buzzsprout because it is simple and easy to use. Buzzsprout can get your show listed on every major platform while giving you the resources for a great podcast website, audio players that can drop into other websites, detailed analytics to see how people are listening to your podcast, and tools to promote your episodes. Podcasting isn't hard when you have the right partners, and that is why over 100,000 podcasters are already subscribed to Buzzsprout to get their message out to the world. Following the link in our episode descriptions lets Buzzsprout know that we sent you. So in return, you will receive a $20 Amazon gift card from Buzzsprout while signing up for a paid plan. Most importantly, every subscription through our link is always appreciated and helps support our show so we can continue delivering the quality content that you guys listen to. That being said, back to the show.
Hello and welcome to Comic Book Junkies. I'm Andrew.
And I'm Joe.
And this week we're coming at you with Infinite Crisis. This is just our story of the week written by Jeff Johns. And yeah, that's all we're doing. So Joe, you want to start us off?
Yeah, so a little background on Infinite Crisis. It was created by Jeff Johns, but there's a lot of people that had their input on this book. It takes place between 2005 and 2006, so a little before Berger and I started collecting. It's a 7-issue miniseries and basically a sequel to Crisis on Infinite Earths. So it's a part of that event series. Just some background for people listening. Crisis on Infinite Earths kind of kicked everything off as far as the Crisis events goes. It's one of the first things that we reviewed. After that goes 0 Hour Crisis in Time. It's one of the books that we skipped because it didn't look that good. I guess you guys could let us know if it's worth coming back to and reviewing. But otherwise, Identity Crisis came after that. That's something we reviewed kind of recently. And now Infinite Crisis, so the one that we're doing today. Final Crisis is going to come after that. And then we already did Flashpoint. Everything post Flashpoint like Convergence, Dark Knight's Metal kind of came out as we were collecting. So we'll probably skip over that stuff, but back to Infinite Crisis. Issue 1 begins with something going on, what looks like on the moon, and Superman is looking for Martian Manhunter. He cannot find him, but Batman and Wonder Woman are there as well, which is good because at this point, humanity is just afraid of him. There was footage released of Wonder Woman snapping Maxwell Lord's neck, and so that's why, it's good that they got their distance from Earth.
Yeah, and, they find out that the watchtowers exploded. Well, they're all kind of doing their thing, but Batman had a black box, like if a plane were to go down, like a black box on a plane has, all the information of kind of what was going on in the last moments. So Batman has one of those installed, obviously, because he's like a sociopath and a freak. So he had one of them in the watchtower, to which Superman says, he's like, so you're spying on us even more? Bruce is kind of like not taking his shit. And then Wonder Woman's kind of pressing him too. And he's like, what are you doing here? You don't belong here. And, I kind of like that Bruce is just kind of lashing out at everyone. He's like, come on, guys, we need to get our shit together. I don't know what the fuck your problem is. You caused half this mess. So I really, it was like really tense, their dynamic, which, you're not really accustomed to seeing so much. Usually it's just like the three best friends or, everything's all peachy keen. But, you could tell it's pretty tense up in the room there.
Yeah, when they're talking about the footage of her snapping his neck, Mongol comes out of nowhere and punches Superman in the back the same way that you did to that kid named Michael back in grade school, which is sweet because I just picked up a first Mongol not that long ago. And DC Comics presents issue 27. But anyways, yeah, Superman finally knocks him down. Wonder Woman comes charging in with her sword, but Superman's quick to stop her, which pisses her off because she actually wasn't going to kill him. The whole squad doesn't trust her anymore. Mongol says y'all too dramatic and leaves. And then Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, like you said, start chirping at each other. And finally, Batman gets the last word and says to Superman, the last time you really inspired anybody was when you were dead. And it was so fucking rude. the three just split up.
I like how he has like the gall too to just like go up to like pretty much like a god and just like say this shit to his face and then just leave, dude. It's like if you tried to do that at the bar, the dude would hit you.
Right?
It's like, where does he get off, bro?
Too, it's kind of fucked there. We see Uncle Sam walking around, which is cool.
Fuck yeah, dude.
He's marching down the street with his group of heroes.
God bless.
Right. But they break into a building and they find a room that's vaulted shut. Upon opening the vaulted door, we find Black Adam, Sinestro, Bizarro, Deathstroke, Reverse Flash, Cheetah. Basically, the whole situation's fucked.
Yeah, and then they just start like fighting out of nowhere. And I mean, nothing good came of that for them. I mean, they got tossed up left and right, dude. And
Right.
like, and I by tossed up, I mean dead, bro. Like they're done. I
Yeah,
did really
dude.
like the human bomb though. Like you saw when he was one of the last ones left, and he's like looking around, he sees that everybody's like his whole squad's down bad, and he just grabs onto I forget who, a Polaris, I believe, and he's just like he just sends it, bro, and he just blows them both up. And that was sick. I was like, you know what, dude? He's got, chalk one for the freedom fighters, dude.
Yeah, even with that though, it was pretty they're worn thin. At the end of the issue, it appears that there's been a group watching everything go down at least from afar, and they're able to finally step in. So the leader of this group is Superman from Earth 2. With him is Lois Lane, Superboy from Earth Prime, and a friendly Alexander Luthor Jr. from Earth 3, which we found about in Crisis on Infinite Earths, where villains are good and good guys are villains. Basically, that concludes issue 1. Is there anything that you wanted to add?
Just kind of like the setup in issue 1. I really like how, I mean, they kind of do it nowadays, but just like the like ensemble cast, like even like the kind of like C and D level people, I just feel like pre-Flashpoint, like there was an emphasis on like, hey, let's at least toss them in there. You're like, someone will appreciate that. I feel like a lot of the characters they threw in there aren't like referenced as much as it used to be. Like it was cool to see when shit was hitting the fan out in outer space. We saw Adam Strange and Hawkman helping the Lanterns. There was, Guy Gardner was leading the way out there, and I really like the fact that he says the little blue dudes don't got balls. That's why he's out there leading the charge. I was like, hell yeah, Guy Gardner rules. He really has grown on me, especially after we read Doomsday with Superman. He's just always, wisecracking and talking shit, and I respect it. Like that's someone I can relate to. But besides that too, I like that on Earth, the Spectre ends up killing the wizard Shazam, and I also do, so the magic world's kind of like, going crazy, which is no good. But I do like that we see Shazam get thrown out of the Rock of Eternity, and they refer to him as Captain Marvel, and I say praise God, dude, because they haven't done that since 2011, and that's his title, bro. He deserves it, and I just like that little nugget because Jeff Johns respects it. And two, I'm just jumping all around when the freedom fighters are fighting. Deathstroke comes in and impales a chick. I don't know exactly who she was, and he just says, "Sorry, darling, it's just business." So there was just a lot of cool character moments, like for me. So I mean, obviously, Deathstroke and Shazam, had little nuggets that I loved. So Black Adam's leading the way of the villain society and all that. Like I love it. So the first issue got me hooked, like off the bat. I was like, there's so much shit going on right now, and they got all the cool characters already off the rip.
No, you're right. It's littered with great character moments. And then to your point, they also did a great job of incorporating a bunch of characters that we don't see a lot today. Like in the beginning of issue 2, it starts off with Animal Man joining the Titans and other heroes to the center of the universe, which is sweet. Grant Morrison had a cool run on Animal Man, which we may do one day, but we don't see enough of him. And for that being kind of like the counterpart of Swamp Thing, I thought that was cool that they incorporated him. But on Earth 2, Superman sees it's time for action because the news is that Uncle Sam and his gang got tossed up and heroes keep disappearing. And we find out that Lex is using the Society of Evil to gather up certain individuals as they are a part of his master plan. He's trying to use these characters as some part of like memory loss machine that he's creating. Earth 2, Superman saves Power Girl from being abducted by the gang that tossed up Uncle Sam, takes her to Earth Prime Superboy and Alexander Luthor Jr., and they kind of begin to explain the multiverse to her and that she's a part of like a different timeline.
Yeah, and I mean, we see Booster Gold getting involved. We see a little bit of a little bit going on. We see like the Joker saying that he wants in the club, but nobody's inviting the Joker in. So this is also kind of like a part 2 to issue 1. I mean, obviously it's issue 2, but it's kind of setting the like wider scope of what's going on. Still, before we get into the meaty portion of the story. But I do also like the little character moment too, where I believe Clark's talking with Lois, Earth 1 Clark, that is, and he's just standing there in his traditional rendition, in a suit, kind of slouched over, doing his thing, and he's talking with Lois, and he's troubled about it, and he says that Bruce is always right because he's having his doubts, and Lois thinks he just needs reassurance or whatnot, and he's like, no, but Bruce is always right. And it's just I like that there's always the Batman has plot armor. You can't be Batman. He's written to be perfect. But it's just like Clark's just like, no, dude, he literally, I don't know how, but yeah, he's right. And I like that he respects that. And like the fact that he kind of was like really introspective about it. He's like, what I thought was right maybe is wrong. You know, Diana's wrong too. And it's just always Bruce. But it's because Bruce is the most human of all of them. And, you know, so he's kind of getting it. And then kind of to cap off the issue, maybe not necessarily, but that's when things start to ramp up a little bit more because Brother Eye is starting to send more of the OMAX that we saw in the first issue to go destroy Wonder Woman. And I mean, obviously things aren't going to get much better from there.
It's at the end of this issue too that Earth 2 Superman comes to the realization when Power Girl starts getting her memories back is that the universe was reborn and Earth 1 became the primary world. So the only chance at saving the universe now is kind of bringing back Earth 2. I like that we got a little brief interruption in the middle of this chapter with the Joker torturing the Royal Flush Gang because he's mad that nobody invited him to the Society of Evil. And they're telling him that's the point. It's because the Joker's too wild. And so he kills them and tells them that they're not funny. So, like you said, a lot of really cool character moments. But that's all I have for issue 2. Like you said, things start to ramp up. So issue 3 starts off with Atlantis and Paradise Island, and they're under attack, and it doesn't look good. We find out that Batman kind of created some of the problems because of the OMAC situation. He created something to make sure that superheroes are being ethical, but the system's taking it way too far. And because the heroes like Wonder Woman have gone to extreme measures like snapping dude's neck, the system sees the heroes as threats and they wage war against them, which is why Atlantis and Paradise Island are both fucked.
Dude, how about the Spectre just coming in while Aquaman's trying to defend a city, and then Spectre just comes in and just crushes the whole damn joint? Just, I was just like, wait, what?
Spectre's cool, dude.
Says "fuck you, fish people," and he just crushes the joint and dips again. It was just like Spectre was on one, dude. I'd be terrified if I saw his ass running around. But
so is Lex, dude. When Lex is talking to Black Adam over Zoom, and he says, in order for this machine to work, he needs someone from the Marvel family because Mary Marvel can't be had. Lex turns his back on Black Adam and sends a bunch of villains his way to get the jump on him.
That's so messed up.
As soon as the Skype's meeting's over, another version of Lex shows up, but Lex explains that he's the superior version and then proceeds to toss him up, which is weird and cool at the same time.
Flex on Lex crime. But yeah, that was pretty tossed up too. They're going crazy. So it's just like everyone's just like playing both sides here to like come out on top. It's like at this point in the story, we don't know what the hell's really going on. Just like just a shit show everywhere.
But we do find out at the end of the issue that Alexander Luthor Jr. and Superboy Prime are kind of the reason for the mess. Like the whole reason Martian Manhunter's missing, and now that Black Adam and Power Girl are captured for the machine, kind of start to see the story actually unfold. Even though Luthor Jr. is supposed to be a good guy, apparently across all timelines and space, if him and Superman are ever paired together, the two are just destined to be enemies for life.
I found that to be really cool because, you know, he's supposed to be the good Luthor and so is his father. I like how, like, in their paradise dimension that, you know, we saw them enter at the end of Crisis on Infinite Earths. They were good dudes. They helped save the universe, multiverse even, but they sat there for all them years and they literally just all got angsty and mad, dude. And then they all come out like on the other end and they're like, okay, we gotta try this better. We're like, this Earth actually sucks. We gotta do it. We gotta bring back our Earth. And, you know, it's just, I thought it was a cool little like kind of completing the circle here that, you know, these characters that weren't really a thing prior to Crisis are kind of going to wrap up like one of the more recent crises. But yeah, I thought that was cool. You know, Superboy Prime's much more edgy and jealous of Earth 1 at this point. He's got a fixation on, you know, Superboy. He says he's not worthy of the title and he's got big beef with him. I like that, even though I'm not a big, you know, reader of them, I like that Shadow Pact shows up. So like, you know, former teams that we don't see anymore. It's cool to see them. We saw Jamie Reyes become the Blue Beetle. You know, he received the scarab from the debris. Personally, haven't read much of him. Don't really care for him. I prefer Ted Cord, but that's, you know, this is a significant issue if you like him. I think he's supposed to be getting a movie too, like directly on HBO Max. So that's
Who is?
interesting. The new Blue Beetle.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, so I mean, as somebody who's not terribly exposed to him or can really give a shit less, I'm interested in seeing that. I thought this introduction was satisfactory. I do also really like that, pre-Flashpoint continuity, Wally having his twins and being with Linda and everybody, Wally having his family. I liked that because I mean now he's just a single dude again who's just forced to run. I mean, at least he has the memories of having his family, which is fucked up, but like the way they handle Wally now just ain't the way that they should. Granted, I do hear better things in the new Flash series that's going on right now, that they're actually treating Wally with respect again, which he deserves. And I do also like that that Batman and Earth 2 Superman have kind of like a moment there, and he says the world needs Superman and Batman together, and that's pretty much true on any Earth. But I do really like the fact that Bruce kind of finds it fishy, and he just pulls out a Krypton ring of kryptonite and just pops it right at Earth 2 Superman. He's just like, I don't like you, dude. And he's like, I don't trust you. And it's just like, no matter what, dude, he's always paranoid, dude. He's ready to whip that thing out. And it's so cool. But yeah, I mean, other than that, it's pretty much just what you said. We kind of see the little inkling that Superboy Prime and Luthor are behind everything. And then we do see what happened to John Jones, Martian Manhunter. He just got dunked on by Primetime and got attached to the old Anti-Monitor's tuning fork.
Basically, Alexander Luthor Jr. in this issue just goes on some evil rant about how they were plotting this for a very long time, and every time that Earth 2 Superman would tend to Lois's health, Earth Prime Superboy would go out into space and try to collect the remains of like the Anti-Monitor's corpse because it's made out of positive and negative matter, all while he was pretending to be evil Lex Luthor on Earth to assemble the group of supervillains that would help him retrieve the individuals that he would need for his memory loss machine. But he also engineered Batman's safety tool to evolve into something that would, that's the threat it is now. Power Girl's also pissed off because she realizes that Lex Jr. teaming up with Psycho Pirate is the reason why Wonder Woman killed Maxwell Lord in the first place, why Batman's so paranoid, etc. But it's at this time that Earth Prime Superboy is excused to go visit Mom, Pa Kent, and like you said, he's really bugging out about Earth 1. So he goes to their house, and their version of Superboy's there. He gets really weird on him and tries to convince him that he's the better Superboy, and the version that they're living with ain't shit, and even punches him in the face, even though the dude was just trying to have a nice day. And Crypto ends up stepping in and bites Prime Superboy, but Prime just chucks the dog across town, which is really sad. Finally, yeah, that pissed me off. He's going way too far, but this version Superboy is finally ready to fight him after that. He can't handle Prime, so he calls Doom Patrol, Titans, and a whole slew of people that can't help either. But Prime gets caught up in the moment and punches someone's head off in the heat of the moment because he's just taking it too far. And so finally all the Flashes come out of nowhere and try to push him into the Speed Force, which was cool.
Yeah, that was sweet. So yeah, like you said, like shit hit the fan real quick, and he started blaming them. He's like, you guys did this, as he like ripped people in half.
He's like, why are you guys doing this to me?
How could you do this? Verbal meme, Eric Andre shooting Hannibal Buress. How could you do this?
Right.
But also, let's not just like skip the fact that like, they kind of hyped up Nightwing and protecting Bloodhaven, and then they dropped Chemo on it like it was the Pacific Theater, and they just were like, do we have to? And Batman comes up to like, reunite with Nightwing, and like, they're just doing their separate thing, just dudes being bros, and he's just like, yeah, don't go in there, you can't go in there. He's like, we already sent the people who can withstand the radiation. And it's just like, holy shit, dude, they just microwaved the whole city. And it's just like,
that was nuts.
That was fucked up, dude. And I mean, I don't know how you cope with that really, but I guess just leave. But yeah, I really like that the whole Flash family is kind of a thing still. I mean, God, there's so many things that I miss that they don't do anymore. Having like Bart and Jay and Wally. I mean, Barry's still dead at this point, but it was sweet. And Jay's like, bro, I can't run this fast anymore. I'm getting old. And, you know, they kind of push him into the Speed Force. They kind of use up all of the Speed Force, and they imprison Primetime in a fucking red sun in the middle of like the Speed Force for like 4 years just for him to come back in like an issue or two.
Right, that's fucked up. But at the end of this issue, Alexander Luthor Jr. finally gets his machine up and running and recreates the multiverse, which causes many of the people to disappear. Back in Crisis on Infinite Earths, Earth 1, 2, and 3 were condensed to what we now call New Earth, which put a stop to the multiverse. So basically, this undoes that, and Alexander Jr.'s real goal is not memory loss, but to keep creating as many Earths as he can until the perfect one is created. Issue 5 comes. This issue starts off with the heroes across Earths getting acquainted with their new setup now that there's new Earths again. And the only thing to really note from the beginning of this issue is that the Blue Scarab has finally chosen a new host for the Blue Beetle. Lex was able to abduct the Superboy that got his ass kicked by Superboy Prime, and he's running lab tests on him. And Earth 2 Soups is pumped to be back on Earth 2 with Lois, but it doesn't change the fact that she's still really old and he would naturally outlive her. So they have a short moment together, but inevitably she ends up passing away in his arms, which was pretty sad.
Yeah, it was pretty sad because, you know, they're like, you know, restoring Earth 2. She'll start to like rejuvenate. Everything will be chill. But no, she gets there. They are outside the Daily Planet. And she just croaks anyways. So he's pissed.
Ribbit.
Stupid. And then Earth 1 Soups comes flying to Earth 2. I don't know how the logistics of all that works. Like, how are all these Earths just floating around in space so close to each other and not ripping each other apart due to gravity? But you know, whatever. He just flies from Earth to Earth apparently, and he goes kind of like console and be like, yo, what's going on, Earth 2 Superman? Earth 2 Superman's like, you dumb bitch, you killed my wife. And he's just like, wait, what are you talking about, bro? I just got here. He's like, no, your imperfect Earth sucks and you killed her. And he's like, no. And they start like
it really did go down like that too.
Right.
Like word for word. No, I didn't.
And then he picks him up and smashes a car on his ass like out of rage. And you know, Diana comes after she got a nice little talking to from Earth 2 Wonder Woman, who came out of nowhere as well, and she just pep talks herself pretty much.
She did say something that hit home to me. She says everyone makes mistakes, even Superman. I felt that, dog.
Yeah, that's
and Wonder
true.
Woman 2 is talking to Earth 2. Wonder Woman's talking to Wonder Woman. So
a
basically,
line like
she comes in to save Superman from getting his ass kicked by Earth 2 Superman because he's pissed.
And that's where it leads to the line that I really liked, where, you know, Earth 2 Superman kind of finally relaxes, and, you know, he and Superman and Wonder Woman are just kind of talking it out. And he's like, you couldn't be from this Earth. He's like, a perfect Earth doesn't need a Superman. And that's when Earth 2 Superman.
That was deep too.
That's what I'm saying. Earth 2 Superman's like, fuck, you're right. He's like, now I have a feeling I know what's going on here. And then, the Earth 2 Superman is kind of key to the multiverse. Like, everything kind of spawns from him. I mean, I guess that goes for any Superman, but, you know, they pretty much stated like the multiverse revolves around the existence of a Superman. Other than that, I mean, we see that, you know, Connor, Superboy, and Dick are on the job. They're ready to go fuck some people up. And that Primetime's back, as I just mentioned. So it's one step forward, two steps back.
Good way to sum it up. Batman starts getting a little squad together so he can try to stop all of this. Meanwhile, Alexander Luthor Jr. is getting his machine turned on and zaps the shit out of Earth 2 Superman because, like you said, he is a key to the multiverse. It fills the sky with parallel Earths. And so we see Superboy come down from the sky to visit Nightwing. So like you said, they're kind of getting their situation together, because the last time we saw him is when Luthor was doing lab tests on him. And then at the end of the issue, Flash finally makes it out of the Speed Force, but in a panicked voice, he warns us that Superboy Prime is one bad mamma jamma and he's just 1 second behind.
Yeah, that shit was crazy. We see Batman, as you said, kind of assemble his squad heading into issue 6 now. The new Blue Beetle, he is kind of the key here. So I kind of like that they made him important off rip. He's one of the only ones who can actually see Brother Eye floating out there, because apparently to everybody else, he's practically invisible. But Blue Beetle's able to find him. You know, Superman says, you know, I opt in. The Magic Gang's going crazy, trying to summon the Spectre for some reason, who promptly kills Star Sapphire, which was pretty badass. They're like, yeah, he's gonna help us out, and he just shows up, kills like a couple people, and leaves again. Spectre's just on one. And there's so many cool things. I'm gonna push ahead a little bit. You can backtrack if you'd like, but we see Wonder Girl, Cassie Sandsmark, who we also never see anymore. Superboy and Nightwing go fucking deck Psycho Pirate. I like Black Lightning and Mr. Terrific just kind of broing down on their part of the mission in Brother Eye. I like their little conversation too. So I thought it was cool that, you know, characters, I mean, we see more of them now, but we didn't see them as much then, I reckon, you know, other than like the Outsiders and, you know, the old like JSA stuff. But what I really like is, I'm getting ahead here, I'm sure, but Black Adam.
Okay, I'll let you touch on it. This is your boy. I
This is
wrote
my
this
boy,
down
dude.
too.
Yeah, this is
Best
one of the
character moment of the whole fucking
damn
series.
straight, dude. He rules. So, you know, everyone's starting to get free from the tuning fork, and Black Adam shows up. And first they're even asking, they're like, do we free Black Adam? And they're like, yeah, why not? And he shows up.
Why not?
And Psycho Pirate's just standing there, and Psycho Pirate's trying to manipulate him. He's like, you feel fear, you feel sad, blah, 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 blah. And Black Adam just pushes his fingers through his head and pops his eyes out the back of his head and just like explodes his head. And when they're like, was that necessary? He just looks at him and he goes, absolutely.
Right? He sticks his fingers so far down his eye sockets and says, no more silly faces. I says, what the fuck is wrong with you?
That's so cool, dude. He plays by different rules. He's from like ancient Egypt, like fictionally. He's like, he don't play by like our standards, dude.
Unfortunately, fucking Superboy Prime has to come out of nowhere and punches him into like another Earth. But Martian Manhunter also tries to take a crack at Superboy Prime right after that. And honestly, nobody's a good match for Superboy Prime. That dude's elite.
No.
Finally, Superboy goes for round 2 with Superboy Prime and actually kind of hangs in there pretty well for the first time. And in one last effort, they both collide into Luthor's machine. And all at once, a new Earth is now Earth Zero. Unfortunately, Superboy dies in the process, though. Dude actually had a lot of heart when it was important. So I thought they did a really good job with not just Superboy Prime, but Connor as well, Superboy.
Yeah, I like that too. You know, like you kick his dog, you hit his girl, and then he gets mad. He was just a good old boy chilling on the farm, dude, just eating a steak, drinking some milk, and then, you know, some guy comes from out of nowhere and starts beefing with him. I mean, I'd be the same way. It'd take me a while to be like, what's even happening right now?
Right.
Like, I don't even know you.
I don't even know how I got involved.
Dude, who are you? I literally stay at home every day to avoid this.
Right. It's like, this is the last thing I wanted.
Oh shit. And I like that you know, the supervillains, like after that, they start revolting and starting their own war. I like that Black Adam's just doing his own thing too. Like, he's not like a villain nor a hero. He's just kind of in there just beating the tar out of people, and I respect that too. Back on whatever Earth he's on at this point. I think we're back on like the Prime Earth now, and he's just fighting people. And that's when Luthor says he's the only hero amongst villains. And I thought that was really cool. But I like that Prime wants to also go ahead and crush like Oa and start a new big bang for everything and create his own universe, because he's kind of over like Luthor's plan. And, you know, he kind of wants to make his own universe where he's the center of it. He's flying faster than anybody. He's got the whole DC universe flying after him, and nobody can even come close except for the sheer willpower of like 300 lanterns or something silly. That's the only thing that slows him down, is just a giant wall of willpower. And, you know, it gets crazy. They start fighting. They go through Rao, which is like the red sun of Krypton, and they like crash land on, I believe, Mogo. So Earth 1, Earth 2, and Primetime are all fighting there, depowered. Earth 2 Superman gets his ass beat. He's done, dude. He's down for the count. And it's just Superboy Prime and, you know, our Superman, the big cheese, the Boy Scout, just duking it out, just old fisticuffs, just on another planet. And I mean, Superboy Prime's kind of like working him, dude. But Superman says it ain't happening, and he beats him up and then passes out. And the only reason he's saved is because the lanterns come and kind of get him out of there. And I thought that was cool because it was looking pretty dire for a minute. I mean, it took two Supermen to just beat up one Superboy.
Right? They swapped enough blows for the rest of the crew that could fly to get there. And the lanterns are finally able to hold Superboy Prime in like a kryptonite casket. Superman ends up being fine, but Earth 2 Superman, the one that you were talking about, is looking a little rough. Power Girl runs to check in on him, and we finally see him at peace. He tells her that he loves her, but it's finally time to be with Lois. So Earth 2 Superman has an honorable death and finally passes away from the fight with Superboy Prime. For those that survived, the heroes begin to fix up the city. We also get to see Alexander Jr. meet his fate at the end of this issue as he's walking down an alleyway, grumping about how he almost won. When the Joker comes out of nowhere to blind him and melt half his face off, Lex Luthor comes out of the corner and tells Alexander Jr. that it's his fault that he underestimated Superman, that he underestimated himself, and the Joker for not getting him involved. And at last, they murder him, and then it pans off to the last conversation between Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. At the beginning of this issue, their relationships were really fractured. Now they're all really happy. They have a new sense of purpose and a boatload of heroes that are willing to protect the Earth moving forward. So the last few pages takes place at the center of the universe where Superboy Prime is being held, completely locked up and looking violent. He begins to think about all the different ways that he can escape, but until then, that's all she wrote.
And you capped that really nicely, but I know there's a moment in there that you would appreciate as well. And that's where, when Luthor says that you underestimated not only me, but the Joker for not inviting him. The Joker then, after sprays his face with acid, he has his little fake buzzer thing and zaps the shit out of him to kill Luthor from Earth 3. Then he says, "Now who's stupid?" And I was like, that's the most Lex line you could drop.
Right.
He says, "You're dumb, bro." So I thought that was sweet.
That's funny. Sounds like a fight I'd get into with my fiance. Well, anyway,
with that's the story, bro.
The story. Yeah. What would you rate it?
Shoot. So as much fun as I had reviewing this, I had a good time reading it, but nothing crazy. I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. I kind of go to this well quite often, if you didn't know, but I thought it was a good story. I mean, especially with all the context that I had in mind from, reading the original Crisis. I thought it was like a nice little thing there, especially because, Primetime's badass. I liked him ripping people in half. I really liked all of the character moments. So, I mean, that could probably bump it up to closer to an 8 because I just really like Jeff Johns, in case you didn't know. And I just like the way he has a voice for these characters more so than, I guess, the actual story. Because I feel like it was pretty much his Crisis on Infinite Earths, kind of plot wise, but as where I didn't like much of Crisis, I guess personally I didn't think it aged as well, as far as being interesting. This was more interesting because of the character work. So I got to see all of my favorite characters in this story, and I felt like their voices fit them, great. So yeah, I'd recommend it. It's better than the original Crisis. I mean, that's a hot take for a lot of you, but I enjoyed it far more. Yeah, where you at, Joe?
A very similar place. I rated it an 8 out of 10. The story starts off with a lot more questions than answers that don't really get resolved for a while, like the OMAC stuff, like you said, that drama with the Spectre in the magic world. But the second half of the story was a lot better than the first half. I did like that it tried to approach the fact that comics were getting a little dark because Batman at that time was almost becoming an anti-hero after the Frank Miller era. This inevitably led to shitty New 52, but it was a really cool Superboy story, and I thought there were some really good character moments, especially on the Superman side of things, and especially with Superboy Prime. Him becoming obsessed with things being the way that they should really turned him into a solid villain for this story. Out of all the Crisis events, I like Identity Crisis the most so far anyway, because it's not so confined to the parameters of Crisis on Infinite Earths like this story is. But I also enjoyed it more than Crisis on Infinite Earths. Both the writing and the art were really good. So if you've read Crisis on Infinite Earths, this story's worth it. I think it's better, like you said. I'm sure that is a really hot take because we weren't, reading this shit as it came out. So retrospectively, I think it's a lot better of a read. But if you haven't read Crisis on Infinite Earths, you could probably skip it. But solid 8 out of 10, definitely because of the character work. So any final thoughts?
No, my final thoughts are that you should follow us on Instagram. That's at CBJ Pod. On Facebook at CBJ Podcast, or type in Comic Book Junkies. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on any podcast platform that you listen to. Tell a friend, tell a neighbor, tell whoever likes comic books. Tell people who don't like comic books. There's probably more of them. Give us a rating, a review, what have you. We appreciate it. You don't have to do any of it if you don't want to. We just appreciate you guys listening, and we love all the feedback that we've been hearing. What do we want to hit them with, Joe?
So what we're gonna do next is Green Lantern, the Sinestro Corps War, another Jeff Johns thing. So this was Jeff Johns. We'll do another. He's one of the best modern writers that we still follow. You know what we're reading, so we'll follow up with that next.
Yeah, the Jonathans keeps going. So with that, that's all we have for you. And be sure to tune in next time. Thank you.
All right, thank you guys.